Hey, you beautiful big kids, it's your boy Zach, and welcome to something new about Alchemy Stories, and a new little series we're making here, which is just going to be lore deep dives on characters, specific characters and things about their past and how they are, little things you might have not known, and things that are hinted, theorizing what actually went on, stuff like that. So if there's any character you want me to do, let me know. But until then, I'll be picking the characters I want, and the first one we're doing is White Dwarf, because lore-wise, he should be a lot stronger than what he is in game. In game, he's a 3-star support, but nothing about this guy screams support in any way, shape, or form in the slightest, but let's just hop on into it. So if you don't know, White Dwarf is a junior officer in the Illumina Legion who has a specific condition because of his blood, which makes him antisocial and can't get along with people. But also, what I think is another condition of his bloodline is it will take any negative emotions and crank them up to like 11. Apart from that, it will also seem like his bloodline gives everybody a specific mental illness, like from the get-go. So you get a passive mental illness, and then you better pray you don't get any more because they will also be cranked up. But his powers are black holes and supernova fusion. He literally has 2 stars around him at all times that hover and react to his emotional state. So yeah, keep that in mind, how they react to his emotional state, because it is very important to his background story. So he joins us on the Colossus simply because Miss Sekar, aka Chandra, his psychologist, referred him to us because he is a super powerful character. Now, hey, a man who can control black holes and fuse stars together? Yes, that's very strong, but how he is a support, the world may never know, because when those balls get into a little game of fuck around and find out, trust me, everything dies. But yes, because of Chandra, he met us, and now he is with us on our adventure. Now, we learn from his first story entry that he is not a fan of himself at all. He considers himself bleak, and that he has boiling blood flowing through his veins. Another important fact, that boiling blood, keep it in mind. Now again, he's antisocial, so he likes to be alone, and on top of that, he literally calls himself and his bloodline rotten and filthy, and should not exist, and is unworthy of love. So he is not a fan of himself at all. He just like me for real. Nah, I'm fucking around. From his second story entry, we learned that he was paired with Miss Sandra in combat and in their daily lives at Illumina, simply because, this is not his story, but this is just because Sandra herself has the ability to take in negative emotions, alleviate the person that she's taking them from of those negative emotions, and then turn it into power. So when you have a boy who just constantly spews out negativity, that's a great battery for yourself to turn into immense power. But Sandra is also just an amazing person who's just very loving and caring. He himself says she is the only person that doesn't look at him with pity because she doesn't know what he did. And he further then says, waking up from those nightmares on countless nights, I eventually understood that it is my destiny to confess for my crimes in my nightmares, and that those nightmares are facts that can't be expressed. So yeah, he did something very bad in the past, extremely bad even. Extremely bad isn't even like the cusp of the iceberg. He did something devastating, but it wasn't his fault at all. But at the same time, he says if she ever found out about what he did in the past, he would end up in that endless night yet again. So he might do it a second time because he might become so unstable again that a lot of people might die. And yeah, and he can't fucking help it. Because again, his bloodline just, he can't control it. Literally, when he was introducing himself to us, those black balls, when he got nervous, they started tearing up the Colossus. So yeah, but this does not compare his final entry in his story that talks about what happened on that night. The past that he constantly relives in his nightmares. The past in which he killed everyone he ever cared about. And no, it's not specifically stated, but there's enough context here to allude that he killed his mother and everybody else in his bloodline. So, let's read that final entry, shall we? My mother. She was a refined, elegant woman. This pen is the only thing I have to remember her with. In my memories, she was always a hysterical, nonsensical woman who was a little crazy. I never imagined she could speak to me this gently. That day was the beginning of the nightmare. My eyes were stung by the flames of the explosion, and I was enveloped by burning flames. My mother, on that day, I felt her warm and solid embrace for the first time, as well as her burning, hot tears that rolled on my face. That is the one and only precious memory of mine that leads me to believe my mother loved me. So, yeah. So, again, remember those things I told you to remember? So, 1, the burning blood. He literally said her burning tears fell on him. Yeah, no, that wasn't tears, bucko. That was your mother's blood. She was probably getting washed in her blood, and he felt that shit. And that's some serious trauma. Watching your mother die in front of you is some hardcore shit. Like I could never imagine that. I would lose it. But on top of that, we hear that it was an explosion that caused flames. But if we look at his entry for his, equipment, it really says these two spheres can be fused together to generate a huge explosion capable of annihilating all nearby enemies. And mix that with the fact that we know that his emotional state affects these orbs, and that him just being nervous made him start tearing up the Colossus. What I think actually happened is he newly unlocked his powers, and being overwhelmed with all those negative emotions, he just couldn't control it. But at the same time, nobody expected him to have so much power. So something probably happened that triggered him to the point where he just lost it. He probably had an extreme tantrum of emotion, explosion of emotions that caused those two orbs to just collide so erratically that just wiped out everything. And his mother was the only person who saw it coming. In doing so, she jumped on him, protecting him, while also losing her life in the same instance. And furthermore, from this, we can also see that him and his mother had two completely different, mental issues. He's antisocial. He's crazy. So it would seem, again, that this bloodline gives everybody a specific ailment, mental-wise. And on top of that, whatever further, negative emotions they get, it would then crank them up. Because this isn't a simple depression he has, this is some serious self-loathing. So he has depression, but because of his bloodline, he's probably being cranked up even more. I.e., why he was paired with Chandra. Now, Chandra doesn't know what he did, obviously, because he's afraid of her finding out. And on top of that, he himself says she's the only person that doesn't look at him with pity, which would allude to other people knowing what he did. And he himself even knows what he did. And he's regretful of it, obviously, but he couldn't help it. But yeah, a little sad tale of a boy who got immense power, but at the cost of, well, everything. So, yeah, that's the story of White Dwarf. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I will see you on the next one, with whatever character that might be. Love you guys, and bye-bye.